Somebody's bringing some problems. My role here is on this Feast of St. Patrick, or Greek, where we're honoring at least one Irish awardee who I just discovered I had taught for younger, for younger sister many years ago in Ferrick, California. So let us begin. It is my privilege to offer the invocation for the Lucrezia Culicchia Faculty Award for Teaching Excellence. This year we are doubly blessed as we honor both the 2025 awardee, Megan Thornton Velazquez, Associate Professor of Spanish, as well as the 2026 honoree, Jane Ferrick, Professor of English. Both women have made important, sustained contributions to what is John Carroll University's most distinguished asset, namely its distinguished faculty of innovative and dedicated teachers. Professor Velazquez is a force multiplier of teaching excellence. Her classroom is a student-centered environment where she utilizes the Socratic method and interactive activities to build linguistic confidence. She is a pioneer of high-impact pedagogy, from her virtual dual immersion program with Mexican students to her innovative course, Migrant Voices, which integrates service learning at Esperanza. Her commitment to authentic learning is further evidenced by her leadership on immersion trips to El Salvador and Guatemala. Channeling the 16th century Spanish literary giant Miguel de Cervantes, quote, "To surrender to ignorance is to be a slave." Professor Velazquez, in her professional career at John Carroll, exemplifies also the 20th century Argentine author Jorge Luis Borges, who expressed the genuine teaching that, quote, "Love and desire are the wings of the spirit." Moving to this 2026 honoree, English professor Jane Ferrick possesses a rare ability to make complex 400-year-old texts, which students often find intimidating, both engaging and joyful. Whether she is bringing the rhythm of a heartbeat to iambic pentameter, or using animated gestures to bring the word lascivious to life, her dynamic style ensures that literature remains both powerful and personal. Her creativity shines through high-impact practices such as the organizing trips to Playhouse Square, staging student-led scenes in the Marinella Little Theater, and designing rigorous debates on medieval misogyny. In the living spirit of the immortal bard, Professor Ferrick is that true, quote, "scholar and a soldier of the mind of which Hamlet speaks of, whose lectures are, quote, the music of the spheres, proving that teaching excellence is such stuff as dreams are made of, as the Tempest narrates." Both professors, in their own distinguished and distinct ways, embody the Ignatian ideal of cura personalis, the genuine care and concern for the whole person in their roles not only as teachers, but equally important as an advisor and mentor whose guidance has been life-altering for many, as evidenced from the student testimonials in their respective dossiers. And let us now join our thoughts and prayers together this afternoon in grateful recognition and honor of what these two colleagues of ours have done, not just for their students, but for all of us gathered together in celebration of the long and distinguished roster of the Lucrezia Culicchia awardees for teaching excellence. May they continue to show us how to continue to bridge the worlds through language, for to be, quote, wise and love exceeds human's might. Y que se haga realidad. Amen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Campbell. I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. I want to welcome everyone, particularly our guests and friends who are here to honor the recipients of the Lucrezia Culicchia Award for 2025 and 2026. So I have a quote here. I was looking for something that just sort of captured my impressions of going through this process for the first time. And what really struck me from all of the applications, but also looking at all of the reviews from last year from our instructors here at John Carroll, is the idea of accompaniment. And so the quote that I have for you is from somebody that I think many of you are familiar with, Father Greg Boyle, who is founder of Homeboy Industries, an organization in East LA. And he speaks about the transformational power of standing with others. And he says, service is the hallway that leads to the ballroom of kinship. Accompaniment is about the with, not the for. It's a refusal to see the other as a project to be fixed, but as a person to be met. And I believe his interpretation of accompaniment fits really well with our goal here at John Carroll for relationship-focused education, and is truly exemplified by our Culicchia Award winners, but I would say also by the faculty body writ large, and here at John Carroll, particularly in the College of Arts and Sciences. So as we are honoring, again, the 2025 and 26 recipients, I'm going to now turn it over to Dr. Richard Clark, the 2024 recipient, to tell you a little bit about the award and also about our selection process as a member of the selection committee for both 2025 and 2026.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And congratulations to our two award winners. Congratulations. So, Lucrezia Culicchia was a teacher and mother of Anthony Culicchia, who was a 1964 graduate of John Carroll University. There was a teaching award. The funding got pulled from it for some reason. I never quite figure out why. And so Anthony stepped up and funded the Culicchia Award starting in 1990. And he named it after his mother, who was a lifelong educator. So this award was actually designed to both recognize outstanding teaching excellence in the College of Arts and Sciences, and from Anthony's point of view, to recognize his mother and her lifelong commitment to education and teaching. Since 1990, the award has recognized outstanding teaching by the faculty member of the College of Arts and Sciences and honors professors who strengthen the teaching climate through exemplary instruction, innovative pedagogy, leadership on teaching issues, course development, and dedicated student mentorship. Through their work, our award recipients help students cultivate intellectual curiosity, deepen their ethical awareness, and develop a long-lasting commitment to service and justice. As you know, the award is given annually by the College of Arts and Science to a faculty member who's nominated by their peers. The nomination process includes letters from colleagues, letters from students, letters from alumni. It is both humbling and inspiring to read these letters. Having served on two of these committees and having known a number of these award winners, it really is humbling to read the letters that people send there. Letters from colleagues, letters from students, letters from alumni who talk about, even though I have these people in the classroom 5-10 years ago, I still think about what they have taught me and how they taught me. And it shapes how I teach, it shapes how I go about my life, it shapes my commitment to the world. It's also really inspiring when you look at these books. Say, all right, I'm back at my dime. How can I step up to the plate? Anyway, the letters speak rather powerfully about our colleagues in the many ways they shape the lives of students, both inside and outside the classroom. I'm going to echo comments that have been made by Father Jim and comments that will be made by the two presenters. Today's award winners have not only excelled as classroom teachers, but as many in the letters of support test, they have profoundly shaped student lives. They have profoundly shaped the people they have touched and worked with over the years. Lives that extend beyond the classroom. Alumni frequently noted that the life lessons and the lessons they learned from these professors extend far beyond course material, they complement into their careers, their communities, and their families. Since its founding in 1886, John Carroll has embraced the Jesuit tradition. You guys all know this. I don't need to go through and talk about trio personalis and badges and the strive for more. But what the Culicchia Award does is it honors those among us who are the very best at what we all do. It celebrates professors who embody the Jesuit spirit, embody the idea of cura personalis, embody the idea of badges, striving for more, striving for excellence, and the holistic formulation of students. It is a meaningful expression of the university's Jesuit commitment to education and to bettering humans and society. And I'll turn back to Kat.
We're ready. When? Now we have a presentation of the awards by the nominating colleague, and then whenever the caller presenter up, we'll all get the certificate.
Okay, I was wondering.
So cause for that.
Hi, everyone. I'm so delighted to speak on behalf of the nomination of Megan Velazquez. And first of all, I'm just so happy that she's here today with us. If you know Megan, you know she's not somebody who seeks the spotlight. And that's part of the reason, honestly, why we decided to nominate Megan, is to shine a light on the really great work that she's been doing for over a decade now in our Spanish program. So she may not like the light shown on her, but is happy to. Well, isn't always dark, okay? And just a few highlights. As you may know, Megan has been the coordinator of our Spanish program for many years, almost a decade. And in that role, she does a lot of work that's invisible to all of you, but that impacts almost every student who takes Spanish. She helps with the hiring and mentorship of our part-time faculty members in Spanish, which is a large contingent of the teaching staff in Spanish. She creates the syllabi, she helps people understand policy, she works with assessment, test design, textbook choice, all of those kind of things that impact everyone who takes Spanish. So she's been an exemplary leader there, well beyond her own classes. When we come to our own classes, they're carefully designed, they're interactive, they're student-centered, they're a place where students feel comfortable making the mistakes that are necessary for language learning, and they're accessible. As Father Bretsky already mentioned, she's expanded our curriculum in really important ways, such as, the Migrant Voices course that Megan's added. I think we can all agree that's a very important topic. Listening to migrant voices, and studying the representation of them. And Megan incorporated a service learning component to that as well. And so this is really a high impact pedagogy that's directly connected to our mission. She is also a very careful and thoughtful mentor of students. When I wrote the nomination letter, I noted that at that time she had 67 minor advisees. Plus a bunch of major advisees. And what you may not know is that advising in languages often involves study abroad advising, which can be quite complicated. And I certainly remember from when I was department chair that Megan was so excellent at helping students who were trying to study abroad figure out how to make that work for them. And that's something that came up in the student letters. There's difficult issues with course transferability and funding and things like that, and students spoke directly to that. In fact, I noticed that sometimes other people's advisors went to Megan because they knew that she would help them. Let me just finish by quoting a few students. One is a student who went on to graduate school in Latin American Studies at Georgetown after John Carroll. And she specifically calls Megan a key element in my success, crediting her unwavering commitment and support that allowed the student to study abroad not only in Spain but also in Uruguay, and helped her secure funding for that. Another student who is a teacher now says, as an educator, the goal is not only to enhance your students' knowledge in your subject matter, but also to have an impact on their lives. Dr. Thornton has had and continues to have a deep impact on my life. This is something that I strive to do for my own students. So this is the legacy for a student who's continuing on that legacy. And finally, most succinctly, the student who said, she believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and she is a professor I will never forget.
Well, thank you so much. I would keep my cats brief, but I really just want to express my sincere gratitude to this board. I'm humbled and honored to be included amongst the list of class produced. A big thank you to all those who wrote letters. I haven't seen them. I'm really excited to read them. And to my colleagues in AMLC, Blake, Chris, and Julia, thank you for the support and the guidance over the years. Thank you to the committee, to Dean Campbell, and it's always a privilege to teach here at John Carroll and to be Howard. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. So it is really my pleasure to introduce Judy Ferrick, my colleague and my friend, who is the 2026 recipient of the Culicchia Teaching Award. Since joining the faculty, the English faculty at John Carroll in 2013, Dr. Ferrick has been really a transformative presence at our university. She's an educator whose creativity, dedication, and deep care for her students have shaped not only her department, but the academic life of the university as a whole. One of the most striking features of Dr. Ferrick's career is the sheer range of her teaching and the innovation in her classes. She's a distinguished Shakespearean scholar, and she has revitalized longstanding courses in the department and has created an extraordinary number of new ones, 15 in total since she's been here. These courses that span undergraduate, the graduate, the core curriculum offerings. And they reflect both her disciplinary expertise and her intellectual adventurousness. So from Eco-Shakespeare to race and place in Renaissance literature, from dream worlds, utopia then and now, to sacred nature and world literature, which is a new linked course that she'll be offering this coming fall. Her classes dive deeply into literary texts while engaging students in urgent contemporary issues, environmental justice, globalism, and race. So students consistently describe her courses as inspiring, relevant, and alive. So her teaching is distinguished by her dynamic hands-on approach in the classroom. Whether she is helping students hear the heartbeat of I Am in Terror, by the rest of you mentioned, or guiding them through a complex scene, or performing Shakespeare herself to model competence and vulnerability. Dr. Ferrick creates learning experiences that stay with students long after the semester ends. Her assignment requires students to memorize, teach, and perform Shakespeare has become legend, and one she has expanded from the classroom to Marinello Theater, giving students the chance to bring Shakespeare to life for the entire college community. Her commitment to bringing professional theater to our students is equally remarkable. As residency manager for Actors from the London Stage, she has coordinated 4 major residencies, with the 5th on the way, spring 2027 coming up. What she does, she brings these world-class actor and into dozens of classrooms across the university. And the most recent residency reached more than 580 students and drew audiences from local high schools, alumni, and the broader Cleveland community. These residencies have become a hallmark of the arts at John Carroll, and they exist because of Dr. Ferrick's vision, her persistence, and her extraordinary organizational talent. Indeed, her influence extends beyond the classroom. Dr. Ferrick has been a catalyst for student engagement in the arts, inspiring the creation of JCU's Theater Club and mentoring its student leaders. She has pursued training in drama and acting herself to expand our curricular offerings and has been in conversation with donors eager to support theater at JCU. Her service to the university is extensive. She has directed the English graduate program, and she served as associate dean for our graduate studies here at John Carroll. She has served on key departmental and university committees. She's contributed significantly to the core curriculum and played a major role in initiatives such as the Laudato Si, Envisioning a Living Future series. But perhaps the most powerful testament to Dr. Ferrick's excellence comes from her students. Again and again, they speak of her mentorship, her compassion, and her unwavering commitment to their growth. They described her as a professor who sees them fully, who cares about their intellectual development, their well-being, and their futures. Many of her former students now teach, and they credit her for shaping their own pedagogical approaches. Several have earned departmental and even national recognition for their teaching, achievements that they attribute in no small part to her guidance. Dr. Ferrick embodies the very best of Jesuit education: intellectual rigor, creativity, and a profound dedication to cura personalis. Her impact on our students, our department, and our university is deep and lasting. It is an honor to recognize her today, so join me in congratulating Dr. G. Ferrick. Thank you.
Come on.
I'm going to use the podium if that's okay. I hope you will bear with me. This is a little bit longer than what Megan said, and I do want to begin with thanks as I could build into my comments here. So I'm going to begin by saying the French educator of the deaf, Jean Massut, once observed that gratitude is the memory of the heart. So today, my heart is brimming with memories of the many people who have supported, encouraged, and inspired me. They deserve this award every bit as much as I do, and I'd like to begin by recognizing those special interlocutors. I had slides, but I'll be able to see that maybe we'll put them up in some after moment. So first of all, I wanted to thank the chair of my department, Peter Kavidra, for nominating me for this award and for devoting time and effort to gathering testimonials from students. Thank you, Peter, for setting such an inspiring example of leadership in our department and for seeing something to honor in me. I truly appreciate it. And when I first came to John Carroll more than 10 years ago, I had superlative mentors among our amazing English faculty, folks who guided me through their example of service and complete dedication to our students and the mission of our Jesuit university. I speak especially of the chair at the time that I was hired, Dr. John McBratney, who is joining us today, although he's retired, and I'm delighted to see him,
as well as Dr. Mary Cameroni, who has just been a complete inspiration to me from the moment I walked through, even before I came to campus, quite frankly. Both of their visions of transforming the world into a more equitable place through mentorship of students stands as a constant invitation to me to try harder and to be better. Other English colleagues and staff members, including Dr. Phil Metris, Debbie Rosenthal, Tom Hayes, George Vilgaire, Yvonne Roos, Isaiah Hunt, and Emily Dannert, have created a supportive and collegial space in our department, and I consider working beside such gifted colleagues a true honor. But it is my beloved students, past and present, who have journeyed with me through their time at John Carroll and beyond, who make my work not only gratifying, but life-affirming. For every student who wrote for me, and I don't know yet who they are, or at least not most of them, know that I receive your time and effort as a precious gift. Rachel Ciotti, and I had a wonderful slide up here that Rachel is, in case you don't know her yet, deserves special mention for being my tireless advocate on campus, as do many rising juniors and seniors who hold themselves to the highest intellectual standards and inspire me incredibly. And some of those students, and I will not be able to name all, but I did want to say some of their names. I see some of them here. Marie Kanzinger, Olivia Buckle, Gwyneth Seddon, Maria Karbowski, Brian Kine, saw him, Karina Lovins, Chloe DeFranco, and Dante Calabretta are among many of the students who I love to work with and inspire me so much. And I wanted to name as well students who have gone before us, who have already graduated, but I'm going to try to keep this a little bit more reduced. Just know that I have learned so much from each of you and will always hold you in my hearts. I owe deep thanks to my family, especially my husband, Bill, who's hiding back there at the back, who has carried me during my career through many difficult patches. And my 3 children, who are now launching their own careers, who always stepped in to share ideas for teaching. It was always very helpful to me, based on their own experiences, and to remind me not to take myself too seriously. That is always a big message from my children. And I'd like to recognize my daughter, Bryn, who traveled a great distance through a snowstorm to be here today, as well as my 2 sisters. I have 3, but 2 are here with me, Rosemary and Maureen, as well as my nephew, Rod. I am deeply grateful that they took the time and expense to be here to celebrate. Like most things in my life, my choice of career was inspired by my parents, who cultivated my love of books, language, and learning. My father, a lawyer, scholar, and former law school dean, invited me and my siblings into the puzzles that animated his days. He'd ask us, was the missing comma in the final draft of the constitutional amendment significant? Did it create ambiguity, impeding the framers' intentions? He led us to believe our opinions mattered, and he was the first to celebrate our accomplishments and quick to help us when we stumbled. I credit my mother, Emily, with being the wind that allowed my soul to soar by celebrating my artistry and guiding me to be attentive to beauty. She modeled this through her own exquisite spirit, which was attuned to the sacred mysteries of the world. While raising 6 children, she also was a practiced poet, frequently penning ditties, jingles, and occasional poetry. The quiet of the car after a day of driving kids to activities was her refuge, the room she could sometimes call her own. Here, her musings and reflections could take flight. Except occasionally, I would join her in this makeshift office when I needed help with my homework. I recall once asking for guidance in parsing Elizabeth Barrett Browning's sonnet, "How Do I Love Thee?" which I was preparing for a presentation. The poem seemed straightforward in celebrating the love of her beloved, or can I say? But attentive to subtlety, my mother drew out the paradox of describing an immaterial concept in quantitative terms, as if love could be measured, like weight, height, or distance. She helped me see the singular power of metaphors to yoke unlike things and make our minds more agile. Another time, I recall her reciting lines from Lady Macbeth's famous sleepwalking scene. Out, damn spot! Out, I say! My ears perked up. She pointed out the echo of Pontius Pilate when he sought to wash Christ's blood from his own hands. She helped me see literature as a powerful art form which could layer ties and voices, make ethical conundrums urgent and immediate, and awaken appreciation for beauty. And I dedicate this award to her. When I advanced in school, I was fortunate to have other mentors who helped nurture my interest in writing. In high school, English teacher Louise Hasbro. She planted a seed of confidence in me. She allowed me to imagine that maybe, just maybe, I could write something of note. At that time, I didn't think I could. And when I moved on to college at Georgetown, it was faculty in English, Dr. Pensiccia and Dr. Joan Holmer, who awakened my vocation as an educator by fostering some of the best classroom conversations I had ever witnessed. They welcomed me and were attentive to all voices in those classrooms. So my methods of teaching stand as an ongoing tribute to the energies and insights these mentors instilled in me. Each of them helped me see that my life was mine to invent and that the power was largely in my hands. And that idea is at the core of all classes that I teach, as I strive to make the classroom a liberating space where self-discovery can occur. At the heart of the word liberal from the liberal arts is the word liber, meaning free. This phrase from classical antiquity names the 7 subjects which together comprise the foundational knowledge free citizens needed to be contributors to society. Disciplines like rhetoric, logic, and music, reviewed as indispensable, the building blocks of public debate, justice, and social intercourse. But what does this work of liberation look like in my literature and writing classes, and how does it prepare students to enter a world where forces like unemployment, war, and climate change threaten to clip their wings and constrain their futures? First, it means that I spur my students into awareness of their power as thinkers, capable of meeting such challenges. Doing so begins with slow and discerning reading of books written by great writers. A growing number of students today tell me they are not prepared to read difficult books, and some confess they've not read a book in years, if ever. But though it may be challenging, it is imperative. Studies conclusively show that careful reading, which invites an undivided focus akin to meditation, unlocks many corners of the brain. Cell phones and social media have addicted too many of us to constant distraction, fragmenting our thought patterns and preventing us from thinking deeply and expansively. So enter books and close reading as a necessary antidote. Author George Sanders, and I will pass this up here, bringing it up, has argued that, quote, the part of the mind that reads a story, you might need it too, is the part that reads the world, transforming us into more active, curious, alert readers of reality, end of quote. In reading, we enter into a conversation which exposes us to nuance and subtle representational techniques, training us to see and understand the colors of a complex world. At a time when powerful technologies seek to dictate how we think, consume, vote, and spend our time, we need the slow work of reading to cultivate depth of thought, which is tantamount to being free. But what is gleaned from literature in a world where hard skills are associated with the sciences and those are equated with earning and success? Well, in confronting the fictional universe of a book or story, students encounter richly developed settings and perspectives which sharpen their ethical, political, and cultural awareness. By having points of view far removed from their own, they also grow in empathy and understanding. These qualities are needed more than ever today in a world where people are denied access to basic rights for the way they look or speak. Books help us bridge the divide that separates us from others from different backgrounds. They help us interrogate privilege and dismantle hierarchies. And by studying how great writers use words to lend coherence to life, students absorb cognitive patterning that will inform their own experiences to come. Although some might argue that the humanities are in decline, I would argue they are more essential than ever today. As virtual worlds and artificial entities proliferate, we need the humanities to safeguard the qualities that undergird our humanity: critical thinking, ethical reflection, imaginative invention, and creative output. In my classes, I also lean heavily on the power of writing to consolidate the ideas activated by reading, to bring shape and order to thoughts. By writing, students develop their distinctive voice, an expression of their lived experiences, talents, and background. If not most students do not really know that they have a voice, which encodes that unique interface with the world. But in this age of AI, we need to ensure students are not denied the opportunity to develop an expressive style that matches their identity. My students are sometimes surprised when I invite them to consider writing not as a blunt tool, readily transferred from one person to another or one context to another, but as instead a kind of musical instrument which bears the performer's distinctive signature. Poetry and music have an ancient association, but the trick is to convince students that they can and should join the choir. So games are key to getting them started in my classroom. And in a favorite competition I use in my writing classes, I have students blindly pick a phrase describing a setting from a cup. They sort of bring it around the classroom, and the cup is filled with options such as phrases like, watching the fireworks from the roof of my house. Then I have them pick an adjective from another cup, and it's like a writerly tone, like nostalgic, scared, or excited. Then with partners, they must then devise a mini story around that context and that tone. As an added plus, they must also embed a literary feature, like a metaphor or personification, in that story. When finished, they read the story aloud, and their classmates try to guess the tone and identify the literary feature. An exercise like this instantly elevates the energy in the room. In part, it's the thrill of a competition and receiving a reward. Usually it's candy that I give the idea. But it's also the excitement they feel as their imaginations fire up and they realize how much leeway and power they have to shape an encounter with a reader or an audience. In recent years, creativity and play have increasingly become the lifeblood of my classrooms. These methods spur and engage students, creating dynamic collaborations, allowing them to stretch further, higher, deeper. I design activities that catalyze a playful, performative, and adaptive spirit in my students. We hold events like debates where we take sides on the stance of an author, with students serving as judges. And we stage trials of characters in a court of law, with students standing in for juries and attorneys. I also have an assignment where students act as teacher for the day, meaning they decide what we focus on and how the class will run. When we study drama, meanwhile, my true love, I often require low-stakes performances by my students. In such cases, interpretation unfolds in embodied form, showing them how rhetoric draws on more than just words. In each of these contexts, my goal is to get students to see themselves as vibrant creators. Doing so enables them to ride the exhilarating and energizing waiting that is learning. My mentors taught me that real connection happens when a teacher recognizes her students as individuals worthy of respect and compassion. My own mentors modeled accompaniment as a pedagogical practice, meeting me where I was in my life journey and expressing interest in my future aspirations. They also showed me that accompaniment is a two-way street, and that as professors, we must not see ourselves as above learning, above growth, or above the dynamic exchange of perspectives that constitutes true conversation in the classroom. The great Irish poet, William B. Yeats, had it right when he said, quote, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire," close quote. And as educators, we must also remember that to light another's fire, we must also make time and occasion to review our own passions. One way that has happened for me in recent years is by managing these week-long visits to campus by the actors from the London stage, which Dr. Vider mentioned. A professional troupe who share their rhetorical and performative skills with classes and then present a full version of a Shakespeare play here on campus to the community. Their workshops have helped me see that learning occurs with the mind, but that it also draws on knowledge held and conveyed in the body. Moreover, their methods have shown me how students who may be unable to engage material delivered in a traditional classroom format often perk up and even shine when new methods are used. I'm always surprised to see that, how the students who have been hiding in the back of the classroom suddenly transform when you put the performance, when you put that into action. We all possess unique skills, capacities, and learning styles. And I've seen that when I've introduced improvisation or low-stakes performance into my classes, that the process of learning transforms from something stale and perhaps too predictable into something that hums with energy, spurring collaboration and engagement. Though I'm not much of an actor myself and have had no training or experience to speak of, in fact, I've always had a bad case of performance anxiety, I have learned that taking risks is the condition of growth, and that it's sometimes necessary for me to step outside my professorial identity and allow myself to be vulnerable like my students. So removing my academic hat can take a variety of forms, but I sometimes join my students on the stage. That happened for a first time last spring, and it was terrifying for me, but I was pushed by my students to do it. So sometimes it takes that form of being on the stage. Sometimes I might be found lying on the floor or possibly across a desk to try to access an interpretive vision or demonstrate an author's message. And the action of lying across the desk, I took that from a former professor of mine in grad school, a Miltonist, who began class. She was teaching us Paradise Lost, and she began class. We all walked into class, and there she was lying on the desk, and we had no idea what she was doing. And she was proving a point that Satan, in the opening of that great epic poem, was lying down, chained to the fire, as he was rhetorically trying to make his appeal to his other fallen comrades. Okay, so how body interfaces with words and language was I will never forget that. I try to give that little gift to some of my students. So they might laugh with me, or they politely laugh at me, but such moments pulse with rich connections as we move beyond assigned roles like professor and student and encounter each other as human beings. Those are the moments that I live for, when my classroom morphs from a space of content delivery to a medium of non-hierarchical exchange where real conversation occurs. So on that note, I like to close by sharing a quote from Bell Hooks, the critic and artist who encouraged us to see art as charting a path to futures ripe with possibilities that have not yet been achieved. In her 1994 book, Teaching to Transgress, Education as the Practice of Freedom, she reminds us that, quote, "As a classroom community, our capacity to generate excitement is deeply affected by our interest in one another, in hearing one another's voices, in recognizing one another's presence," close quote. Her words inspire me and embody the kind of classroom I strive to create. So I'd just like to thank you all for joining me and Megan today, and I'd like to thank Dean Campbell and the selection committee for finding my pedagogical practices worthy of this great honor. And I, consider it very humbling when you look at the list of names, including many great professors in this room. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and thank you for bearing with me as I read up office.
Megan, Jean, thank you so much. And I think you just deliver on the John Carroll promise through teaching excellence, through your service to students, to your departments, to the college, to the university. And I want to thank everyone for coming to honor these incredibly valuable members of our community. Thank you all. Please stay, mingle, eat all the food. That would be great. Thank you.